Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your daily NVIDIA report for Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. Let's take a look at the charts. I'm going to start with this one here, just to go over kind of the big picture, and that was about 3 weeks ago. I don't know the exact date. I don't have that in front of me. We settled above this descending flag at the top of an all-time high, or coming off of an all-time high. That once settled above, which we did about 3 weeks ago, set off a meaningful longer-term buy signal. And when I say long-term, it could either be, within 2 to 3 weeks, as this one has played out, or within 2 to 3 months, as I was initially estimating the reaching of our objective at 1189.55. So it was the settlement above the 830.08 descending channel top that set up 1189.55 and climbing daily as a 2 to 3 month target or sooner, and that is certainly sooner. I'm assuming we're going to test it here, possibly today, inside of 1 month. And it was on the way up that we settled, and this was Thursday of last week, above this channel top that is today at 1050.01. And so let's go over the day trade scenario here. I do have 1098.83. That is nothing more than Monday's low, but it is a gap higher development. And so this low has some meaning, can contain session weakness, and above which bullish momentum remains intact through the rest of the week, or until we actually happen to test the 1189.55 channel top. Yes, we have 1108.69. That is a 1 5/8 Fibonacci sequence that you can check out here. We also have 1191.94, which is a full swing. In other words, 974 minus 756.06 added to 974, which flips this entirely on its head to the upside. A full swing to the upside is 1191.94, and that correlates well right now, most of this week, with the rising channel top at 1189.55. And so let me go back to this chart. I've been saying as well since last Thursday's close that having settled above the 1050.01 channel top, we are now anticipating 1189.55 within as little as 2 to 3 weeks. And we're about 2 to 3 days into this and almost realizing it now. We may actually reach that today. I do have 1149.39, just a soft intraday upward pivot point, nothing more than Tuesday's high. And if we push through 1149.39, 1189.55 to 1191.94 would be anticipated intraday, where we can top out, not only for the day, not only for the week, but through the month of June and fall away from here. Falling away, how far south can we fall away? Well, ultimately, we could fall all the way back to channel support that I don't even have pegged yet because it's nothing more than a trend line. But once we test the channel top, it does become a channel bottom. And I do say that if we test 1189.55, say today, and back away, I will begin showing and indicating this channel bottom that looks to me, and I'm going by visual here, to be in the 860s or 870s as a possible 2 to 3 month downside target. And that could be sooner than 2 to 3 months, certainly with present volatility. Now, if we close above 1191.94 today, we just don't have a lot to hang our hat on. I'll be quite blunt. In terms of technical resistance levels, I mean, we will be searching for everything, trend lines, Fibonacci wave counts, so forth and so on. But if we close today above 1189.55, and that should be, yes, by a 1% margin, because after all, this structure does span some 6 months, that would be 1201.45 or higher today, 1% above 1189.55. And this thing just becomes increasingly like it can become any more vertical than it already is. But it just maintains this sort of crazy vertical state. So I think if we close, first of all, let me back up just a little bit, because I do need to talk to those who did go long, actually, about 3 weeks ago above 830.08. As we're pushing into this 1189.55 area, my recommendation is to trim at least some of that position. Take some profits, if not all profits. Now, whether or not you play the short side from here, and for instance, as I say, reach for 870 or 900 strike out of the money puts that don't expire, I would could go 6 months out of an expiration. That is the extreme move off of 1189.55. So if you've been long for the last 3 weeks, my recommendation is to take at least some profits at 1189.55. Now, whether you play the short side or not may have more to do with whether we then fall away from here and start setting off near-term sell signals. The most notable of which would be, violating this 1050.01 former channel top. Now, this former channel top, we don't have it illustrated today because we really don't want to commit to it just yet because it's predicated on the move high, in which we're right next to. We're just off of that high that was put out on Tuesday. But there is a rising 1/3 speed line off that April low that climbs something like this. It's at 1028.50 today. I don't expect to see this area, but for the time being, 1050.01 is the beginning of a narrowing range down to 1028.50 that can absorb selling, I'm going to say through next week. And once tested, we can round back up to 1189.55 within 1 to 2 weeks. But the broader point that I was making before was, as we're testing 1189.55, and you're long, you could consider reversing and going short back into the 1050.01 to 1028.50 region within 1 to 3 weeks at the most. Or you could also play the long game. And I don't mean that like being long. I'm talking like the longer term development may well be full bearish rotation back to the channel bottom. That is rising actually at a pretty good pace. It will be in the 950s by early July, as you can see on this chart. So you may just sort of anticipate the possibility of the 950s, 960s, 970s, 974 channel top. This is what could play out, where we test this channel top at 1189.55, fall away within 6 weeks or so to 974, which would be coinciding roughly perfectly, with the rising channel bottom that is presently, I'm thinking, in the 850s or 860s. But let me get back to this chart here, and that is to say that if we close above 1189.55 by a full 1% margin, closing at 1201.45 or higher, I do see, now this would be this is an April low. And where are we at now? We're not even into June yet. This is like a mid-April low. So we're 6 weeks into this move. And if we close above 1189.55, we could certainly rally an equal distance within 6 weeks or less, as this market can become increasingly vertical and gap-driven onward and upward to 1519.11. That would be our next big picture objective. No good reason to be short NVIDIA. Our next good reason to be short NVIDIA would be either selling 1189.55 or closing below 1028.50. So we're not going to see 1028.50 today. If we close above 1189.55, no good reason to be short. You should be long into the 1500 handle. Let me talk downside one more time, and that is to say that if we close today below 1098.83, we should tomorrow test 1050.01, the beginning of a narrowing zone of meaningful support down to 1028.50 that may well contain weekly selling pressures. Oh, here it is. Here's 1028.50, rising 1/3 speed line off that April low. If we close below this area, then I'm expecting 960.90 within just another 3 to 5 days. It does present fairly stair-step on the way down right now. But, once we test 1189.55, it does allow for a big picture bearish rotation to channel support that is presently in the 960s and climbing. I think I've said it all. I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said. So I'm going to leave it at that for Wednesday's NVIDIA report. Please click like, share, subscribe. Check out wickedstocks.com. Take advantage of that 5-day free trial. I'll be back tomorrow with Thursday's NVIDIA report, and you have a great day.